Going to review the new Clarence Clarity EP titled Same. Clarence Clarity is a UK singer-songwriter, experimental music maker. Put out his debut album last year called No Now. Very experimental, very glitchy approach to R&B music that was based on stuff like boy band, 90s stuff. We got a bit of Backstreet Boys sort of vibes there. This album is constantly interesting. I'd like to think that he himself could be encapsulated by the mystery that he's creating with his music. This sort of mystery is carried into this new EP, and it's a very unique concept this EP has. It's called Same, and it's a very fitting title considering what the concept is. And you'll notice, especially if you keep listening to this EP, you'll probably even notice straight away every track is titled Same, which I thought was already a clever knack. But then I listened to it, and then I realized actually every single track on this EP is the same. Or is it? Ah, the plot thickens. It did confuse me for a second, and I was trying to pick up little things out of the lyrics, out of the instrumental, maybe try to notice different differences between each song, because I figured that since it's Clarence Clarity and there were some little quirks, some little hidden quirks that you would pull out every time you listen to No Now, I figured that there would be like at least some sort of differences between the tracks, because that seemed like a Clarence Clarity thing to do. And I was right, because I did read an article about the EP that Clarence himself wrote. It did have a bit of a satirical edge, because even though each track was the same and had the same lyrics, he seemed to have a different interpretation for every single track on the EP, which kind of had this tongue-in-cheek sort of sense of humor to it. But I actually think that there was some sort of message being portrayed regardless, even if maybe it was a very loose message. It turns out, and I actually really found this to be quite an admirable message, if not a very unusually portrayed one. This same EP is more of a very satirical commentary on how people nowadays, in the modern age, consume music. Trends are moving so fast. What could be relevant today or this month could be left in the dust the next month, or even the next day. We forget about things so easily just to move on to the next big thing. And of course, because everyone's in such a rush to just listen to new stuff that's being fired out at such a rapid pace nowadays with the internet and all, it's very easy to lose attention of what you're even listening to. And if people are just listening to little snippets of songs to just make a judgment of them, then would anyone even notice that all the tracks on this EP are the same? Obviously, if you look at the little sound waves on SoundCloud, you can notice little subtle differences between like tracks 1 and 5 or whatever. Even at the end of each track, there's like a little voice clip. There's even a little voice clip of someone going again, and then on track 5 it says 99 cents. Now let's focus on what the actual song is, because, I mean, that's really the core of the EP, the fact that the song is repeated over and over again. This song is like an amalgamation of every single trope and cliche you'd hear in pop music, and maybe not even just pop music, maybe just in music in general. It's like a melting pot of every single thing you'd expect from every genre ever. I've got a list of different things I picked up, and there's even more that I might have missed. Obviously, the very dramatic and over-the-top R&B vocals. You've got the trap percussion, icy synths, glockenspiels or xylophones, shoegazy electric guitars, panpipes, the kind that you'd hear in pop music, like on that Jack U, Skrillex, Justin Bieber track that was huge last year. Even the equivalent of a dubstep drop, sort of. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like a real drop. Even a spoken word interlude in Spanish, I think. A piano outro, and even a key change. And yet, with all of these elements on one single track, it can be very overwhelming. It might seem like, it's constantly hitting you with all these layers and all these different sounds. But actually, when you listen to it, the sound is really catchy. And the lyrics, obviously, very symbolic, very unsettling, very explicit too. They're very ambiguous, and that's sort of the mystery behind a lot of Clarence Clarity's music. The song itself is brilliant. It's fast-paced, it's frantic, it's kind of scary, but also very catchy and just an absolute earworm. And of course, this EP comes at the risk of being perceived as a pretentious sort of thing, but I don't think it should be that way. I think it's really clever. I think it's sort of in the whole character persona or style of Clarence Clarity, so mysterious and so ambiguous as well, but very, very interesting. And for that reason, I've got to give this EP, for being quite unique, it gets an 8 out of 10. And what a triumph that was.